the essence of stillness is a cessation of any identification. The mind is so conditioned to be spinning in all the ways that it spins. It spins a little bit differently in everyone, even though most of the overall patterns we all kind of have in common in some way or another, even if there's a slightly different flavor to everyone's. The identification that they have with all those thought and thinking patterns can quiet down. And it means not just that merely that the thoughts themselves quiet down, but with the way that person's identification with those thoughts then begins to lessen. As those thought patterns begin to still or slow a little bit, then their identification with all of these related things begins to still and slow a little bit. And this is why, when it comes to being a bit more still, that people frequently experience it as very peaceful, because all of these identifications with all these thoughts begin to lessen. And so they experience a cessation of all of those responses and all of the thinking patterns. And so what they experience for a moment is a cessation of all the identification that goes along with those things. So their literal sense of themselves can actually just still for a moment. It can actually sort of cease for a moment. And it's in that people find this experience that I so frequently refer to as stillness. Sometimes people may experience a literal stilling or slowing of those thought patterns, those identifications. And sometimes it can also take the form of where those things are still sort of running within them, but they're not grabbing onto them. It's possible for those things to still sort of be running inside their inner experience, and yet they're still not attaching to them, so they can just sort of let them run on their own without having to be attended to in a way. And so even though they're still running, they're still experiencing also this sense of non-attachment or non-identification or stillness that seems to be at the very sort of center of this experience that is often shared when people come to see me in person.